Hello? Cheyenne? It's Kelly. Cheyenne's heart plummeted. The voice on the other end was slurred, frantic, and barely audible over the sound of loud music and sirens. Kelly? Where are you? What happened? I I think I hit something. With my car. Everything is blurry. Cheyenne. I'm scared. I don't want to go to jail. Please. You're the only one who doesn't drink anymore. You're the only one who knows what to do. Cheyenne looked at Elizabeth, who was happily smearing oatmeal on her face. The itch didn't come this time. Instead, a cold, hard clarity took its place. This was the life she had escaped. This was the mirror she was forced to look into. Stay where you are, Kelly. Don't move. I'm calling a lawyer, and then I'm coming to find you. She hung up and looked at her mother, who had just walked into the kitchen, still glowing from the night before. Mom? I need you to watch Elizabeth. I have to go. Reba saw the look in her daughter's eyes. It wasn't the look of someone tempted to join the chaos. It was the look of a first responder. Go, Reba said, handing her the car keys. Handle it. Cheyenne found Kelly in a parking lot on the outskirts of town. She just took the keys, called Gary from her AA group, and spent the next 6 hours navigating the legal and medical nightmare. When she finally got home that evening, she was exhausted. She found Van on the sofa, Elizabeth asleep in his arms. You okay? Van whispered. I'm okay, Cheyenne said, sitting on the floor at his feet. I realized something today, Van. I'm not the sad girl anymore. I'm the one people call when they need help, and I like that person a lot better. Chapter 22. Van's Cinematic Staging. Van Montgomery was a man who believed that if a little effort was good, an absurd amount of effort was better. He had a new listing, a beautiful but spiritually stagnant colonial that had been on the market for 6 months. It lacks narrative, Mrs. H., Van declared in the office, pacing back and forth. People don't want to buy walls. They want to buy a movie. Van, please tell me you didn't hire actors, Reba sighed. Not actors. A lifestyle experience. The following Saturday, Reba drove by the house. She stopped the car and rubbed her eyes. There was a string quartet in the foyer, and most puzzlingly, there was a golden retriever rented for the day, lounging on the front porch with a bandana that matched the shutters. Van, is that a professional dog? That's Cooper, Mrs. H. He's a closing specialist, Van beamed, looking incredibly proud of himself. Look at the buyers' faces. They're not looking at the cracked tile in the bathroom. They're looking at how happy Cooper looks in the sun. Remarkably, the house sold that afternoon, above asking price. I don't know whether to fire you for the insurance liability of the dog or promote you for the commission, Reba told him as they closed the trailer for the day. I'll take the promotion, Van grinned. But Cooper gets a cut. In treats. Chapter 23. The Sunday Dinner. The Hart household was rarely quiet, but this Sunday was different. It was the first time everyone, including Julian, was gathered for dinner. Reba had spent the afternoon cooking, ignoring Barbara Jean's attempts to Germanize the pot roast. Brock was there, proudly showing off his 1-month sobriety coin from his smoking cessation group. He was eating a steak, as promised, while Barbara Jean watched him like a hawk to ensure he didn't sneak a single puff of the neighbor's grill smoke. Cheyenne and Van were arguing playfully over whose turn it was to change Elizabeth, and Kira was in the corner, recording the whole thing for what she called her sociological study of suburban chaos. Julian sat at the head of the table, looking at the madness with a look of pure contentment. He wasn't the big city developer tonight. He was just a man who had finally found a seat at a table that mattered. A toast, Reba said, standing up. The room went quiet. To the survivors, Reba began, looking at her daughter, who was clear-eyed and strong. To the fighters, she looked at Brock and Van, and to the ones who see the hearth fire, even when it's buried under a mountain of mud. She looked at Julian and smiled. And to the package deal. It might be messy, it might be loud, and we might occasionally take the wrong vitamins, but it's ours. Amen, Barbara Jean shouted, lifting her glass of sparkling cider. And those Germans, they really do know how to make a cake. As the laughter erupted around the table, Reba sat back down. The Houston humidity was still there, pressing against the windows, but inside, the air was warm, The hearts were full, and for the first time in a very long time, the Hart family wasn't just surviving, they were thriving. The Texas Flip, a novel of risk, love, and real estate. Chapter 1. The Curse of the Redhead. The Texas sun was an unapologetic weight, pressing down on the asphalt of the Houston suburbs until the air shimmered with the ghost of heat. Inside the Hart household, Reba Hart sat at the kitchen table. A stack of closing documents mocked her from under the fluorescent light. She was a woman built of grit and fire-red hair, but today the fire felt like it was smoldering under a pile of damp ashes. "I sold it," Reba announced to the empty room, her voice a mixture of triumph and poison. "That little starter home on Elm Street. The one I've been nursing like a sick kitten for 6 months." Cheyenne, her eldest daughter, wandered in, balancing a toddler on one hip and a look of vague concern on her face. "That's good, right, Mom? Isn't selling houses the whole point of your job?" Reba let out a dry, hacking laugh. "In theory, yes. In practice, I am apparently a charitable organization for people named David Davids." She explained the sting. David Davids, a man whose parents were clearly as uninspired as his business ethics, was another agent at her firm. He hadn't bought the house to live in. He hadn't bought it to help a family. He had bought it to flip it. Within 48 hours, he had listed it for $50,000 more than Reba had sold it for. 50 grand. "Cheyenne," Reba whispered, the number tasting like copper in her mouth. "He made my annual salary in a weekend because he had the stones to buy low. I'm the flippy. I'm the one getting tossed around while everyone else lands on their feet." "Well," Cheyenne said, sliding into the chair opposite her mother, "why don't you just be the flipper? You know more about these houses than anyone." Reba looked at her daughter with the weary patience of a woman who had seen the bottom of a wine bottle and the bottom of a bank account. "Because, honey, the bank doesn't lend money to red-headed women with grit. They lend it to people with high credit scores. Mine took a nosedive during the divorce and never pulled out of the tailspin. Don't ever get divorced, Cheyenne. It ruins your soul and your interest rates." The conversation shifted, as it often did in the Hart house, toward the absurd. They discussed Van, Cheyenne's husband, a former high school football star whose professional career had ended with an injury and whose current career consisted mostly of being charming and occasionally profound in the most unexpected ways. "Van has a pre-approval letter," Cheyenne mentioned casually. Reba froze. "He what?" "He got it months ago. Every time he and Brock get into a fight and Brock threatens to kick us out of the guest house, Van gets paranoid. He wanted a quick exit strategy. He's got the credit, Mom. He's got the golden ticket." Reba's mind began to whir. It was a dangerous sound, the sound of a woman who had nothing left to lose and a bottle of whiteout in the junk drawer. Chapter 2. The Froth on the Market. Van Montgomery was a man of simple pleasures. A good sandwich, a loud television, and the unwavering belief that he was the protagonist of a very interesting movie. When Reba approached him with the partnership, he didn't react with the excitement she expected. Instead, he leaned back in his recliner, looking like a retired philosopher king. "Pass," Van said. Reba blinked. "Pass?" "Van, I am offering you the chance of a lifetime. We use your credit, my brains, and we rake in the cash. We could be the next power duo of Houston real estate." "Mrs. H," Van said, using the nickname that always made Reba feel both respected and incredibly old. "The housing market is falsely inflated. It's full of untrained speculators. To quote Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan, the froth is on the market." Reba stared at him. "Do you even know what that means? Did you just eat a dictionary?" "I know that when an old guy in a suit talks about money, I listen," Van replied. "Risk is for people who have something to gain. I have everything I need right here. Why would I gamble our future on a bubble that's about to burst?" But Reba knew Van. She knew he was a creature of ego. She knew that he prided himself on his stones, that elusive, masculine quality of bravery. "You're just afraid," Reba challenged, her eyes narrowing. "David Davids is making a fortune because he has the nerve. You're just talking. You're all talk and no trigger. Van bristled. The air in the room changed. You think I don't have stones? I put forks in toasters, Mrs. H. I live on the edge. A fork in a toaster gets you an English muffin and a mild heart arrhythmia, Reba snapped. Buying a house gets you a life. I guarantee you, I will find a house to flip within the week. 7 days. You in or out? Van looked at her, the challenge hanging between them like a physical weight. 1 week, or 7 days, whichever comes first. You find the deal, I provide the credit. But if it blows up, it's on your red head. Chapter 3. The Satellite Confessional. While Reba and Van were plotting their financial empire, Brock Hart was experiencing a different kind of crisis. Brock, a dentist with a penchant for midlife crisis purchases and a leopard print thong he thought was fun, was currently lost. He was driving his expensive SUV, his second wife Barbara Jean in the passenger seat. They were supposed to be at the opera. They were currently in a cul-de-sac that looked suspiciously like the one they had left 20 minutes ago. We missed the first act, Brock. Barbara Jean sighed. She was a woman who lived for drama, ruffles, and the feeling of being cherished. If you had just asked for directions. I don't need directions. I'm a dentist. I navigate complex root canals every day, Brock shouted, his grip tightening on the steering wheel. And don't talk to me about the opera. No straight man wants to go to the opera. I bought those tickets as a sacrifice. A sacrifice? Barbara Jean's voice hit a high, tremulous note. I just wanted adult conversation, Brock. I spend all day with a 3-year-old. I need someone to talk to who doesn't use a diaper. In a fit of pique, Barbara Jean reached out and pressed the blue button on the rearview mirror, the Econostar assistance system. Don't touch that, Brock yelled. It costs $2 a minute plus tax. Hello, this is Hal from Econostar. How can I assist you today? A smooth, calm voice drifted through the car speakers. Barbara Jean's face lit up. Oh, hi Hal, I'm Barbara Jean. You sound very helpful. I try to be. Barbara Jean, are you lost? In more ways than one, Hal. In more ways than one.